Hey, very good evening, everyone. Charles here. Frgnt Daily Chart Analysis. Good evening to you all the time. 22:58 local time here in Milan. A little bit later than usual, but that's how the cookie crumbles from time to time. It has been a pretty straightforward day in the markets today, to be quite honest. Just dropping into having a look, really, what I forecasted this morning. 16 hours ago, apparently, looking for the DXY overall. If you have a look at the top right hand chart, you'll see that I'm overwhelmingly bullish on that DXY, simply based on the fact that we are in the only remaining weekly order block down at the lows. Once we've refined that weekly order block, we recognize also bottom right hand chart at this stage that we have approached and we're trading from a refined daily order block as well. When you begin that process and start refining down, we're simply then using that DXY as the full amount of confluence that we're using to trade those cross pairs such as GU, EU, AU, and also US dollar CAD, of which I took full advantage of today. So that's the analysis. But the title meant a lot, to be quite honest. If you do pay attention to my analysis, I do give away a tremendous amount of clues. Now, 4 hours, still not convinced just yet. And those of you that recognize and know how I trade, you will see it at that bottom left-hand corner, bottom left-hand chart on the 4-hour time frame, the time frame which for me is, aside from my entry time frame, a very important time frame to really gauge the market sentiment overall, potentially even for the day. In my opinion, it comes from that 4-hour time frame. So we have to understand on the DXY, just based on this still image, that the DXY is very much so bearish, trending below the 4-hour 50 MA. Price has or is in the process of creating those lower lows and lower highs at this stage. So for me, a clear structure point above that area where price is failing to break and close above was imperative for the day's plays for us to really understand the true direction of that DXY. Now, excuse my sniffing, still suffering, unfortunately. But nevertheless, trading is way more important. We can see here, bottom left-hand chart, rather the 4-hour time frame circled. We finally had a bullish candle close above that area, and that meant an awful lot for the bias moving forward. That meant that we could now begin to trust our lower time frames in terms of the trend that we are seeing on that 50-minute time frame. Therefore, I can now rely on that 50-minute time frame in regards to my lower time frame analysis when I'm looking to trade the cross pairs. So, bit of a productive day, I'll be honest. So US dollar CAD, initially to start the morning, I was looking at actually taking an Asia range short, an Asia range long. Finalize the chart for you to have a better understanding of that. I won't go into the dynamics of the Asia range. However, but as a result of not having the full confluence with that 4-hour time frame on the DXY, I wasn't truly able to take a higher time frame trade based on the fact that even on the 4-hour time frame on US dollar CAD, as you can see by the line that I had across at that time, we also did not have a full closure above this little mini range that we're seeing here on that 4-hour time frame. Of course, now we see it, but again, like I always do, fully transparent with my analysis. We'll go over to US dollar CAD this morning. Where are we? US dollar CAD, here we are, potential Asia range. So that's exactly what I said I was looking for. But as you see, 4-hour time frame, bottom left-hand corner, we didn't have that break above. So I couldn't really trade against the dollar, despite my overwhelming overall bias with the understanding that we could be looking to go long term. I don't have that confirmation just yet. And as I always say, just because we are in an order block, just because we have refined an area down, just because potentially price is looking to go in a certain direction, do we truly have that confirmation just yet? And even based on the structure, it is even still slightly a little bit early based on we don't have a clear break of structure on that 4-hour time frame. However, what we do have is a 4-hour order block refined within that weekly, etc. And then at the bottom of the trend, we're now seeing a range. Of course, that can go in either direction, hence why I was adamant to wait for that 4-hour candle closure, at least on the DXY, above or below, and then vice versa on US dollar CAD. With that then said, I'm then able to trust the lower timeframes on US dollar CAD as well. However, the Asia range trade, as it's illustrated here, it doesn't take into consideration, in my opinion, or certainly the way that I trade it and the way that I teach it, it doesn't take into consideration any of that higher time frame confluence or bias whatsoever. It's just, do I have a 15-minute break of structure? Can I identify the order block that has created it? As you can see here by that top left-hand chart, very much so. Break of structure to the left, most recent high. We've made a new higher high. Is Asia available? Yes. Is price looking to come down to this 15-minute order block? Do I have the range to fill Asia? Yes, 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 yes. Therefore, Asia range trade very much so available for myself. Now, what we'll go and have a look at is how price looked on that 1 minute time frame. It was absolutely beautiful. So for Asia ranges, I'm looking for those 1 minute intricate breaks of structure. And what we had, I've got rid of all the drawings now. However, where are we? Where is Asia range? So to the left here, we were looking at. Right, so we were here. No, 22nd, where are we? Okay, around about here. So price, so here's Asia highs. Price came in on, this is on the 1 minute time frame now. So I'm looking, can I identify a 1 minute break of structure and then wait for price to pull back into the area? Of course, price dipped in, therefore I'm looking to see if this structure point is going to be broken. Unfortunately, unless I was incredibly aggressive, which I wasn't comfortable to do, there was no entry for myself. We can see when price broke structure here, it just continued. And unfortunately, it actually filled Asia, meaning that my initial thought process to take the Asia range position completely out the window, null and void, therefore no longer available. However, what I had as a result of Asia being filled, or in fact Asia being snapped, I can then say, in terms of the brand new day, I now have a break of structure. So if I move that now to the right hand side, you can see exactly what I have. I have a new break of structure in terms of new price action. Tokyo opened, London opens. We're now trading from London to New York. We've got the break of structure. London typically will push price in one direction. Asia will, New York will then bring price in the other direction to look to take those pullback trades back up to the upside for the evening plays. And that's exactly as the illustration shows here, by way of higher high created in the market. I would have liked, in an ideal scenario, again, this hasn't gone down as a textbook trade. It is just a good trade, in my opinion, based on my statistics. I would have much preferred for price to have broken structures altogether, even the most recent higher high, create a new higher high, as I've said here, then pull back into an area of imbalance for me to take that position, and then I would have been plain sailing for a textbook trade. The good thing, what you'll see also based on the 4-hour time frame, is we now have that bullish 4-hour candle close above that area. And simply, as I always say, based on the dynamics of the most basic form of price action, once we then have a higher high in the market, expect that higher low for the higher high continuation. And that's exactly what we're seeing now. So I'm actively still in that position. What's the time? Okay, so just at the crossover now for me, hence why we're seeing those big moves in the market as the market is crossing over into a brand new Asia session. So I'm looking to keep this trade open potentially overnight. My take profit is set around about the imbalance in terms of the opposite direction, because we're still not clearly out of the woods just yet based on that 4-hour time frame. We have, and it's very important to recognize, again, using the most basic format of price action and structure, look at the 4-hour time frame. Lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. So technically, once price comes into this 4-hour order block, supported short also by the fact the 4-hour 50 MA may start to trickle down as well to support price action to the downside, more than likely going to run into some traffic, and potentially price is going to look to come back down to the lows. So my take profit is very much so, in my opinion, in a technically valuable place. Based with that, also in addition, what we can say based on the DXY, we understand that the DXY is having its push, but again, I mustn't get sidetracked by that. I must understand that in any trending market, again, DXY, we broke above, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So of course I am expecting a higher low. The best news that I have on the DXY is we've also closed above that 4-hour 50 MA, bringing light now to my trade on US dollar CAD, hopefully fueling that liquidity over into the US dollar CAD to push it slightly higher. With that said, I'm going to also run into some traffic based on the daily time frame. Look at the daily 50 MA. Perhaps that is in line with the 4-hour 50 MA on US dollar CAD. So by the time price wants to get up to that daily 50 MA, maybe it's going to be a new day. Perhaps we are going to close bearish below this daily 50 MA, which is incredibly likely. So what will happen is once that daily candle then closes, the new one will open. It's going to push up, potentially pull into that daily 50 MA, and then reject it on the DXY, meaning that I'll be caught offside with US dollar CAD. So it's very important to secure those profits when they're very much so in hand, but I'm not going to secure them prematurely, just going to allow price action to play out, and we'll see where we go with that. So that's really the breakdown of the day. I mean, some good news, I've got rid of Euro GBP. That's no longer in my scan anymore. For the moment, I've replaced that with GJ. Just testing out GJ. If I scroll over to the right hand side, if it will allow me to, a couple of good hours ago, 14 hours ago, I said, admittedly, I do not trade GJ, but shorts could be the play of the day. So potentially giving myself some flowers. This took me around about 3 to 5 minutes to mark up this morning, only using the 4-hour and 50-minute time frame before I was to do a live call with the members, and it's pretty straightforward, to be honest. We could see that GJ was trending beautifully on that 4-hour time frame. Randomly, we've had that snap of the lows, also breaking that 4-hour 50 EMA. So again, as I always say, rinse and repeat. So we were making higher highs or higher lows, however you want to call it. This must count as a break of structure of some sort, however you want to paint it. Even if you can't identify higher highs and higher lows on the way up, when you're getting such a tremendous move, also breaking that 4-hour 50 EMA, I'm simply expecting price to pull back into an area of imbalance. Where is that imbalance? 4-hour order block is sat there waiting for me. As soon as I saw that, looking to refine that order block down, and then here we are. We found ourselves in a little mini range as I woke up this morning. So typically I'm looking for stops to be grabbed, however you want to call that, liquidity grabs, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, there was a 15-minute order block above this mini area. Again, I was looking potentially for a nice little Asia film. However, not necessarily available, but again, you can see that there was a snap in the market to the left. You can see here break of structure, price then pulled back up into that area of imbalance. The Asia fill was very much so on the cards. However, admittedly, as I said, I don't often trade GJ. In fact, it's been a good couple of years since I've traded GJ. Therefore, I was a bit hesitant to want to trade that using an Asia range. So what I did, I waited for price to snap, break some structure point, typically then come back up to the imbalance and take the short. Very, very, very simple. So I'm short on GJ at the moment. Very, very, very low risk, I must admit. Again, it's a bit of a trial period for me. It's going to be a couple of long sleepless nights as I look to backtest GJ with my strategy, just to have that confirmation on the performance, and then I'll definitely look to implement it long term alongside the trades that the pairs that I'm actively trading. So team, I hope that made sense. I hope you were able to grab a little bit of insight into my trading day. Probably going to call it a night now. Trades are journaled, back again tomorrow morning, as always, to see if we can do it all again. So that's the day's plays, to be quite honest. So I wish you all a pleasant evening or a good morning wherever you are. Thank you very much, as always, for your support across all the channels. I do appreciate it. I do see your messages as well, good and bad. So please do keep them coming. It does fuel me regardless of what you may have to say. So all the very best again, everyone. Do take care, and you'll hear from me tomorrow morning. Take care. Charles.